Hey y'all, welcome back to Hopeful and Wholesome, and welcome back to another solo episode. And today we're diving into how you were never meant to work like a man, which if you are on this podcast, I know that you know that, but I'm combining two of really my favorite tools for productivity, getting things done, for quote work, and putting those together. So I have done an episode about cycle syncing quite a long time ago. I can put that in the show notes. And I've talked about human design and how this sort of lays out the blueprint of how you were designed to work. But I want to put these two things together in kind of cutting through the idea of masculine productivity and bringing in this kind of feminine energy entrepreneurship and how we as women who are in tune with our bodies and with our design are actually designed to operate. I think we know that hustle culture is not how we as women are designed to operate. I think we know that by now. We've talked about it so much, but I think talking about it and knowing what the opposite looks like what the alternative actually looks like are two different things. Because the fact is we are inundated with this masculine paradigm of productivity that we talk about so much on the show. And it's really tempting to get sucked into that paradigm because it is, as I say, it's the water we swim in. It's just, we're faced with what the masculine paradigm of productivity is day in and day out. And we see it working for other people. We see other people getting quote unquote successful working that way. And so we think, oh, that must be the way we have to do things. But then people like us who are into our bodies and into our energy and so in tune with these things start to work like that. And we find out very quickly it doesn't actually work that way for us because we're designed to do things differently. Because the masculine paradigm of productivity is all about output and extraction. It's how much can we extract from this body for the sake of output, for the sake of productivity. And that's just not how we're designed to do things. That's not how we're designed to operate. And we know that the industrial workday was engineered around a body that doesn't cycle, a body that has hormones that are the same day in, day out. Their hormonal cycle that starts over every 24 hours. And so the workday wasn't engineered around a body that doesn't cycle. Honestly, a world and nature that doesn't revolve around a cycle, just completely negating the fact that nature has seasons and the world operates in seasons. But it was all about consistent output every day, same thing, same energy, same hour, forever, never stop. And because this is how we have done things for so long, we mistake that for this is the natural order of things. Like this is just another law of nature. And it's not. We know that it's not. But there is a chronic mismatch between a woman's actual energy rhythm and this kind of flatline output schedule that the industrial workday created, where it's the same thing every day, same output every day. This is a huge problem for our bodies. It's a huge problem for our nervous system. I've talked about HPA dysregulation before. That hypothalamus pituitary adrenal axis is kind of our stress circuit. I mean, it's just not sustainable for us. And so I want to talk about how we really step into the alternative, as I said, stepping out of this masculine productivity paradigm and understanding what it looks like to take a more feminine approach, which is leaning into our cycles, understanding your human design, how your energy was actually designed to operate. So if we start with talking about the human design piece, and using human design as this energy blueprint, I want to go through the types and talk about our strategy. Now, our strategy is how we're designed to interact with the world around us, how we're meant to interact with people, with the universe, with the energy around us. So for my generators and manifesting generators, which really is the majority of you listening because about 60% or so of the world's population are some sort of generator type, you are built to respond, not to initiate on command. Your sacral energy is renewable, that you have a defined sacral by default. It's renewable, but it's not linear. And I think that's a really important distinction because yes, you have this yes-no aliveness all the time, but you're still, first of all, you're still a human. You're not a robot. So it's not linear. And you also have hormonal cycles that are going to impact what your sacral is telling you. So I think that's an important thing to keep in mind. Going back to what I was saying about strategy, I want to specifically outline strategy for each of the types here, because sometimes I think this is one of those can be a little complicated to understand, or like on a tangible level, like how do I really live this piece out? So responding for generators and manifesting generators, you are here to respond. What does that mean? What does it mean to respond? You are waiting for something outside of you to trigger a reaction instead of initiating from a cold start. That's what manifestors are here for. You are not really designed to do things that way. So examples, some maybe tangible examples for you. Instead of forcing yourself to kind of sit down and decide what to write or what to launch next quarter, what your next launch is going to be, you wait for a comment, a client question, a DM, maybe something you scroll past on Instagram that triggers oh wait, that's now I have an idea. That's the thing to build. So you wait for something outside of you to respond to. Now, we're not waiting for external validation. I don't want it to sound like that, but you're waiting for something to respond to. So the idea is going to hit you from something outside of you. You see something, you hear something, someone reaches out to you, an opportunity lands in your inbox. Like I said, maybe you scroll past something and that triggers an idea. So I think a lot of times generators and manifesting generators get into, because you have that sacral energy that wants to move, you get into this rut where you're like, I have to find something to do. I have to find something to do. So it can be really tricky to navigate the waiting to respond when you have this sacral energy that just wants to move. It just wants to do something. So I think the key for you, something to keep in mind, is to not force it. Now, is to not force it and to be open and to really honor timing, honor divine timing. Now, if you were feeling like, okay, because here's the other thing, we're talking about hormonal cycles. Say you're in your ovulatory phase, which we'll talk about in a second. So you really have this kind of spark of, oh, I want to get things done. I want to put myself out there. But then that creative spark is a little like, or that you haven't really found something to respond to. So it's like, oh, I got to find something. This is when we can get into that forcing energy where you're forcing things to happen. Something you can do if you have, okay, I have energy that needs to move. Free writing and just like brain dumping is a good way to do this. So because as you start to kind of dump things out on paper, an idea might strike you. Maybe it's going to if you have a business, maybe it's going to Instagram stories and, you make some cute little stories and you put a poll up, like you ask questions, you're providing something for someone to respond to. Maybe it's, maybe I'm reaching out to former clients and, checking in with them or asking them a question, and that's going to give me something to respond to. So you can be creative with kind of, now this isn't in that forcing energy where you're going into it like, I have to find something to respond to, but can you get creative and use that energy that wants to move to kind of provide opportunities for yourself to have something to respond to? So remember what it is not, the responding is not like sitting with a blank piece of paper trying to manifest this big idea from scratch. That is manifestor energy. That is a manifestor strategy. It's not really yours. And this is the trap that a lot of generator types fall into because hustle culture tells everyone to initiate. You have to create something new. You have to keep going. You can't stop. So that's not how we're designed to operate. Also keep in mind that there's a little bit of a nuance between manifesting generators and generators. Many gens we're the ones, I say we because I'm a manifesting generator, if you didn't know already. We are the ones who kind of follow the unconventional path. And so oftentimes we'll skip steps or change direction kind of midstream. On the outside, it might look like we're flaky or indecisive, but this is actually very correct manifestor energy. You find something to respond to, but then you kind of jump 10 steps ahead, or you kind of in the middle of what you were creating. A pure generator, it has more of that finishing energy. So they kind of finish that linear path once they said yes. They have that staying power to kind of see it through to the end. So a manifesting generator might say yes, get 3 steps in, then feel this sacral response to shift and pivot. But a generator typically is going to have that staying power to see it through to the end. This is correct for you. So many gens, I know a lot of times we can get into that feeling like, oh, why can't I just stay the course? Why can't I just finish this thing? can I tell you how many Google Docs and notes I have on my computer and on my phone of unfinished crap? And sometimes I never get back to it, but sometimes I do. And funny enough, as I'm saying this, because I'll have ideas for like things I want to talk about in a post or a podcast episode, and I'll jot notes down in my notes on my phone. Funny enough, I have been on this rampage this week of going back to ideas that I had for posts that now I'm like, oh, now I want to write about this. And some of them have been there for a very long time. So that's, again, it's kind of how manifesting generator energy, it's not linear. It's like we have squirrel brain, we have like ADD brain, whether you are or are not ADD brain, but we do not follow linear steps, and just know that that is correct for you. So that is strategy for gens and generators. For my projectors, you are built to work in these kind of concentrated bursts around recognition and invitation. So remember, your strategy is to wait for the invitation. Now, I feel like there's a little bit of a similarity here to that whole responding thing I was talking about for generator types. So remember, when you're responding as a generator type, I'm not asking you to just sit around twiddling your thumbs, like waiting on the universe to drop something in your lap, right? We can still move. We can still take aligned action. Those examples I gave you before, we can get creative on how we can kind of provide opportunities for us to have things to respond to. The same thing works for projectors. So you're not necessarily sitting back twiddling your thumbs, like waiting on something to drop out of the sky to give you an invitation. You are becoming the magnetic version of you that invites those invitations, like the person who is just so magnetic that you're getting the invitations, right? So that's part of it. It's that personal, that deep inner work. And then the other thing too is you can still create things that provide opportunities for invitations, right? You can put yourself out there and then wait for the invitation to respond to. So that invitation, that recognition invitation is really important. But the work part too, knowing that you really like a sustained 8-hour output, like an 8-hour workday is really not ideal. And it's probably a projector's worst nightmare. Like this is just not how you're designed to work. Projectors need rest. They have a really sensitive aura that needs rest. So, and rest could be like physically, like I need more sleep. It could be rest as in like I need rest between these kind of concentrated bursts of work or output. And projectors, I feel like this is a really huge source of a lot of projector burnout because projectors, you live in a generator world. 60+% of the world is a generator type. And so that kind of go, consistent sacral energy is kind of being forced on you. And this is the fastest route to burnout for a projector. You are living in a generator world, but you have to learn how to operate as a projector. Now, this isn't to say that if you're a projector and you have this consistent work for 8 hours that you're going to burn yourself out. Like I'm for sure going to burn myself out. Because as with any type, when you are doing aligned work, when you are taking aligned action, when you are doing something that lights you up, working for that long may not feel like work to you. This is where discernment is so key, where listening to your body is so key. I mentioned this story a while back on my podcast because I had a friend reach out who's a projector. And she was like, oh, I had this reading from this friend. And then she was kind of telling me some things that just didn't feel right. And so her friend who does human design was basically telling her, like, you can't work more than 4 hours at a time. Like, you're going to burn yourself out for sure. Like, this isn't right for you, blah, blah, blah. And I get where that person is coming from, because a lot of times when you're learning human design, that's kind of what you're taught. But human design is not designed to put you in a box. And so anything that feels restrictive or constricting in human design probably is not correct for you. So when you feel constricted, but now, hold on, I want to say a caveat here, because I'm also not saying if something you hear about your human design doesn't resonate, then it's not correct for you. I'm not saying that, because a lot of times you will learn many parts about your human design that don't resonate because you have been so out of alignment with that part of you that you're like, that feels like a foreign concept. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about when you learn parts of your chart that feels like it's putting you in a box and it's constraining, constricting, or restraining how you operate and keeping you small, that is not correct for you. So for projectors, I find one of the ways that some teachings of human design can do this is that the whole like, oh, you're not supposed to work more than 3 or 4 hours at a time. Now, generally speaking, that is correct because, as I said, you have this sensitive aura, you don't have that defined sacral, that kind of staying power. But that's not to say that can't ever happen for you. So if you are in tune with your body, if you are in tune with what is lighting you up, what is bringing you just excitement, what's bringing you those feelings of like, oh yes, this is it, and you're in it, then you have probably a longer battery life there when you're working in that energy. And so it really comes down to, as I said, it comes down to discernment. It comes down to really listening to your body. And that's true for everybody, but I'm saying it specifically for projectors right now because I just feel like that part can be kind of sticky for people. But knowing that about yourself and just kind of using your discernment muscle with, okay, do I need to stop? Like, should I take a break? Should I step away? That's really important. For my manifestors, I've mentioned you already before because you are here to initiate. You were built to initiate and then have these kind of rest and integration phases. So you have these creative cycles, these creative bursts, and then you have this downtime and this rest time. And the thing is with that, there's no specific prescriptive pattern on this. So it's not to say like, oh, you're going to have these initiating phases, phase for 3 weeks and then you're going to rest for 2. Like there's no specific pattern to this. Going back to what I was saying before, it is really important to listen to your body and understand how your body is moving, how it's feeling, and how that energy moves through you. Because the fact is, because you also, like a projector, don't have that sacral energy, that consistent sacral energy, you're not designed to maintain this constant visible output. And I think one thing for manifestors is when you have these kind of creative bursts and cycles, and then you have these rest integration phases, it can feel off-putting to kind of go quiet for a while. It can feel off-putting for you, like, oh, I should be doing something because you live in a generator world and generators are like, go, 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 go. It can also feel off-putting, like if you're an entrepreneur or you have a business, it can also feel off-putting for your people. Like, okay, she created all these things and now she hasn't created anything in a month. Like, what's happening? That is how you're designed to operate. You are the visionary. You are the initiator. So you are somebody who can break out a piece of paper and like cold turkey start drafting the next big thing. That's what you're here to do. And that's how you're here to operate. But just know that after you have these kind of creative bursts and that you have this thing that you download, the rest is really required to kind of recharge your battery. So keep that in mind. And then last, for my reflectors, you are guided by the lunar cycle, literally guided by the lunar cycle. So you are designed to kind of sample the environment, all different environments over the course of 28 days. Now, I want to say this for reflectors, and this is, y'all are my unicorns out there. So only 1% of the population are reflectors. So this is not a whole lot of people listening who are reflectors, but I know you're out there because I've had people reach out like, oh, have you ever worked with reflectors? So I know you're listening. I know they're out there. This isn't to say, again, back to what I was saying about the putting yourself in a box thing. This is a way people like to put reflectors in a box. Like, you can't make a decision for 28 days. Let's be real. Most of the time, that's not practical. This is not realistic. Sometimes you have to make decisions on things and you don't get 28 days to do it. Like, I have to decide by this deadline or, right? I think for you is understanding that your decisions and the way you operate is just, it's very cyclical. And it might be slower than generator types or other types, but it's all about you sampling the environment. Because you have this completely open aura, you have all of your centers are undefined, you're going to be taking in a lot of information, a lot of ideas, feedback, opinions of other people. And it's important for you to take all of those things in and then to be able to discern what is mine and what is somebody else's, A, but B, like, what about all these things I've taken in are going to help me to make the decision or to build the thing I'm here to build. Consistency is very fluid for you too. So I want to say that for my reflectors. Generator consistency or like hustle culture consistency is really, it's not a thing for you. This is not like a universal thing. This is not, your consistency is going to wane, right? To wax and wane. It's going to change. And just know that consistency for you is going to have a completely different meaning. Consistency for you might be showing up and then having phases where you don't show up, but that's consistency for you. So you determine what consistency looks like for you. You determine what it means for you. Now that you understand your strategy, these are important. This is determining how, like, kind of what your output looks like. Let's talk a little bit about your menstrual cycle. I'm not going to go deep into this because I've done it before. And like I said, I put it in the show notes if you want to go listen, and I go really deep into this. But I want to bring this in because I want you to see how we put this together with your human design and how it can kind of weave together. So your human design kind of gives you this daily to monthly energy mechanics. Your menstrual cycle is going to give you the monthly hormonal weather underneath it and how it's going to shift and change that those daily to monthly energy mechanics. Both of these work together. So this is not an either or. This is learning how to weave these two together. And don't overcomplicate it. I don't want it to sound like this is really complicated. Oh, well, I have to remember that this is this and this is this. Because really, bottom line is, as long as you're listening to your body, everything is going to work out fine, right? Everything's going to work out. But if you want to build something that's sustainable, it's putting all of this together. So I'm going to just go with a quick little recap of your 4 inner seasons of your menstrual cycle. Your menstrual phase, think of this as your inner winter. This is your lowest output phase. This is when you have the highest access to your intuition and your discernment. This is when it's a really great time to do the inner work, the journaling, the meditating, all those things to get the intuitive hits and kind of see what messages are there for you. Now, this is kind of your built-in monthly reset. This is best for vision and reviewing and also saying no and just letting it be this inner winter where you're kind of going into hibernate for a few days potentially. But think vision, think I'm reviewing things, think maybe I'm setting my list of things I'm going to do when kind of my energy comes back online. And the next is your inner spring or your follicular phase. So when we're in the follicular phase, you have your energy is rising, your cognitive ability is going to come back online, right? You were kind of like in that foggy haziness and the menstrual part of your phase. But when we get into the follicular phase, or think of spring, if you think of like actual spring, right? Things start blooming, things start coming back to life. That's exactly what's happening to your body. You have this new appetite for new ideas. This is best for brainstorming and strategy. And this is a really good time for initiating for manifestors. If you feel something is kind of brewing under the surface, this is where projectors might have this like invitation, initiation energy is going to land really clean here. So your energy is coming back online and it's bringing you into your ovulatory phase, which is kind of basically it's late follicular phase. But think of summer. This is like peak energy, peak communication, peak magnetism, peak execution energy. Like I'm getting things done. I'm batching content. My creative brain is all the way online. This is where generator types, my generators and mani-gens, like your sacral energy is going to be the loudest. It's going to be the most reliable. This is best time for like launches and sales calls and podcast interviews. And maybe you're doing, Instagram lives or getting on camera, but it's visibility. This is the best time for that. And then last is your luteal phase or your inner fall or autumn. So think of what's happening in the fall. It's kind of this falling away. It's kind of this slowing down. So your focus kind of narrows. You have less tolerance for noise. In my episode I did about cycle syncing, I talk about your BS meter and how your BS meter is like at its peak level here in your luteal phase, which there's good and bad side there. I don't want to say bad, but there's like positives and maybe potential negatives to that because it can be really loud. It can be really critical, but at the same time, this is really the best time for you to kind of see, okay, what isn't serving me anymore? What isn't working anymore? Like, what have I been holding on to? Because I was all like cupcakes and rainbows in my ovulatory phase, but you get into this and you're like, oh, no, that's not. So this is a really good time to kind of look into that. Editing, think like attention to details, administrative things, checking things off your to-do list, finishing things, refining things, closing loops. This is not the time for starting new things. This is the time to finish things, right? Because we're going into winter. So your strategy and your type is going to tell you how you're built to move. Your cycle phases, or the seasons I just talked about, this tells you how much fuel you have in the tank that week. So it's going to give you an indication of how much to push, right? How much do I have to push? If I know that, I'm in my luteal phase and my energy is kind of like, but I have to finish this thing. I have a deadline at work. I have a deadline. Like I have to be mindful of that energy and know, okay, I'm going to have to take more breaks. I'm going to have to step away. I'm going to right. Maybe I delegate something. So just know how to work within those specific phases and just know how to work with your energy. Know what's realistic. So using your chart for your own natural rhythm really is so crucial. And I want to give you one more piece. This is a little treat for you. This is like a little kind of more advanced part of your chart that I wouldn't typically talk about in a group setting like this, but I think it could be really helpful for you. So we talked about type and strategy. I think so. Type, strategy, and authority, that's where you look first. So this is your daily decision-making rhythm, whether you're responding for a generator type, whether you're waiting for the invitation for projectors, if you're initiating for my manifestors, or you're waiting a lunar cycle or, waiting for my reflectors. So start there first. Understanding those pieces is going to kind of help you with your natural rhythm. Your profile, and maybe I'll dive into this in another episode, but this isn't the piece I wanted to go into with you, but your profile is also important because your profile, and that's the numbers. So if you're not super familiar with your chart, it's going to be the numbers. It looks like a fraction. So it's 2 numbers. This is your role and how you're meant to move through your experiences, how you're here to show up for other people and how other people see you and how you see yourself and how you're meant to show up. And so the pacing here is going to be different too, just based on your profile. That's another topic for another day. But I think starting with your type, strategy, and authority, which we've covered already, that is going to be crucial. That's the first step. That's most important. So start there. Now, the little kind of more advanced piece that I wanted to bring to you today is something that I haven't really talked about on the show before, is looking at your variables, but actually a specific one. So if you look at your chart, there's 4 little arrows. And if you go to my website, I'll put it in the show notes because not all of the charts do this. They give you a more specific look at the variables. Now, specifically, I want to talk about your perspective variable. This is what governs whether you're built to focus narrow or scan wide. And I'm going to explain what that means. So looking at your arrows, we're looking at the bottom right arrow. So there's 4 arrows. So if you look at the bottom right arrow, that's your perspective variable. That's what I'm talking about here. So it's going to be pointed one of 2 directions. It's either going to be pointed right or it's going to be pointed left. And then if you go to my website and get your chart there, you can get a free chart there. There's also going to be a number. I'm going to tell you what the number means. So I think this is important for a conversation here because it's how you're designed to place your focus. So if you have a left-facing arrow, this is considered active. So your mind is more strategic and structured. This is more like a detail-oriented type of focus. You notice exact details and you thrive on things like plans and lists. So if you've ever heard the term specific or non-specific manifestor, in manifestation, you are a specific manifestor. So you're somebody who can visualize exactly what you want, like to the most exact detail. So when I say detail-oriented, you are detail-oriented on all of the things. So if you think about it, if you think about like a lens of a camera, if you're left-facing arrow, you look through a zoomed-in lens. Like you want specific details, causes, step-by-step actions to get results. That's what you're looking at. Now, if you are a left or a right pointed arrow, this is considered more passive perspective. So your mind is more receptive and fluid. So you're more of a big picture person. You take in the big picture and you absorb information just kind of passively, naturally. This would be in manifestation, you would be the non-specific manifestor. So you're focused more on like the feeling of a goal and the feeling of what you want and kind of the big picture of what you want. And you just let the universe fill in the details. Now, I want to tell you that this completely changed things for me when I learned this about myself because I have a right facing arrow. And, I was doing all these like goal setting things and manifesting things. And it all just felt so off for me. Like I couldn't, it just never felt right. and the whole goal setting thing. And I mean, it was also very masculine driven. So I think that was part of it where my body was like, oh, I don't like it. But the other part is it's passive for me. I am a non-specific manifestor. So getting down to like the nitty gritty, fine tuned details of what I want, like, I'm like, I don't know. It could be this, it could be that, it could look this, it could, but I know for sure I have the big vision. I know for sure I have the feeling. I know for sure I want it to look like this big picture. I could give you the big picture, but the details for me, it's like, I don't know, it doesn't really matter, like these little details. And that's exactly how I am with taking in information too. So if you have a right focused arrow, remember, like going back to my analogy of looking through a lens of a camera, you look through the wide angle lens. So you kind of capture everything all at once and you rely on intuition to guide you. So you have the big picture and you're like, I don't know, I'll let the pieces kind of fall into place now. So you think best when you're in motion. Think you're walking, you have multiple browser tabs open, you have music in the background or noise in the background. You jump between projects and you loop back. And when you try to really lock in to one task for a long time, it usually doesn't produce focus. It makes it kind of staticky. It makes it kind of hard to keep your focus there. Going back to that ADHD brain I was talking about for manifesting generators, because that's kind of how we operate. But if you have a left focused arrow and you're a mani gen, you really have that, or a right pointing, sorry, you really have that. Your best insight is going to show up when you're moving, you're walking, you're in the shower, you're mid conversation, you're scrolling and something comes up and you're like, oh, it's like completely unrelated, but now it just strikes an idea and this insight. That's where, so you having this narrow focus is not going to work for you. That deep work block that you scheduled out because you're like, oh, I have to be productive, typically doesn't work for you unless, maybe like I mentioned before, maybe you have music going on, like you have something, there's other things around you, there's energy moving, there's people, there's noise, that's going to be more productive for you. So that just knowing your right or left facing arrow can be really helpful for you, because if you're a left pointed arrow, now you know, okay, I am more strategic and structured. If I've been kind of loosey-goosey and kind of trying to be fluid with things, but now you know you have a left-facing arrow, okay, now you are the person who's going to really thrive for that, 2-hour block of getting the deep work done. Like that's going to be really helpful for you for sitting down and getting things done, for mapping out the exact details and having the plans and having the lists and sticking to the plans and sticking to the list. That's really supportive for you. If you have the right facing arrow, it's going to be the opposite for you. Think of it, the best way for me of picturing this was the camera lens analogy like I gave you. Think of that. Remember, the left facing arrow, you have that zoomed in lens. And if you're right facing, you're looking through that wide angle lens. That always gave me the best insight to how to use this. Okay, so let's take this one layer deeper. And this is kind of the more advanced way of looking at this. If you're getting your chart on my site, because not all of the charts do this, you're also going to have a number by your arrow. It's going to be a number from 1 to 6. Each of these are different views. So this is just kind of get more specific on this variable. So I'm going to go through each of the numbers and just listen to the one that is your number. But the link is in the show notes. So if you need to get your chart, go ahead and go to the link to the show notes and you'll get that. Because like I said, not all of them have it. So if you've gone to another website, it may not have the number. So if you have a number 1, and this is the number that is by that bottom right arrow, the variable we've been talking about. So if you have a number 1, your mind automatically scans for, is this stable? Is this sustainable? Is this going to hold? It's about survival. So you're the one asking, but what's the plan if this doesn't work? While everybody else is kind of hyped up on the idea, you're the one that's like looking for, is this stable? Is this sustainable? And really, that's how you know you're on track. Your instinct is trustworthy. Lean into it as a filter and kind of let it vet decisions before you commit to it. You know you're off track if you kind of spiral into scarcity or obsessing over what's missing instead of really trusting your instincts on what's stable and what's sustainable. So this is great for things like risk assessment or like deciding when to scale an offer or a business, financial review, that kind of thing, looking for stable and sustainable things. And this is not the best environment for a bad environment for this is forcing yourself to make this leap of faith decision while ignoring any of those alarm bells going off in your mind that you're really designed to notice. Like you're designed to notice the what if like worst case scenarios. That's really how you're designed to operate. So if you have a number 2, yours is possibility. So your default is what if. You can see all the possibilities, all the options multiply in your head before anyone else asks. Your brainstorming for you is just kind of this natural habit, like just dreaming of all the possibilities. So you're on track when you trust that really expansive read of seeing everything as possible. If your mind tells you that there's a path, then there is. Just trust that. Even if it's not obvious yet, trust that. Trust your instincts. Trust your intuition on that. Now, you get off track when you get talked out of it. When you get talked out of the possibility, you start listing all the reasons why it can't work. And like going back to the survival one I just talked about, you're not the one thinking of worst case scenario. So if you're getting off track, if you're spiraling into worst case scenarios, because if you're thinking about all the reasons it can't work, you shrink your vision to match your own doubts or somebody else's doubts. That's not aligned for you. So this is really protect this part of you when you're in offer creation and vision setting. Like let the possibilities be endless and kind of stay out of that survival view. That would be more of like the one we just talked about. Okay, number 3, if you have a number 3, yours is power. For you read a room instantly. You can recognize who has leverage, where the influence sits, what's actually driving a decision underneath what's being said. Like you can kind of read between the lines and read people. You have a really good read on people. So use that to position yourself and position, if you have a business or you have a career, like position yourself or your offers, if you're creating offers, correctly. Like you see leverage points that other people miss. So use that. Use your own power. You can get off track on this one when you turn to like trying to control the room to feel safe or shrinking your own power because you're uncomfortable holding what you see, like kind of dismissing or minimizing your own power. Number 4, if you have a number 4, yours is wanting. So you have a desire, and desire for you is data. This is when you want something clearly, and that clarity that you feel around it, that is your compass. So vague wanting, things that feel vague, that doesn't feel aligned for you. That feels kind of foggy, kind of staticky. When you want something, it is like this sharp feeling, like that is the direction for you. So for you, get specific. Like you are in alignment with this when you get specific, writing down exactly what's wanted, not just like the vibes or the emotions or whatever, but like actual detail. Specificity is really going to activate this view for you. Now, you can get off track if you numb your desires because it has felt unsafe in the past, or it's felt like too much, or you have a lot of that conditioning around wanting and really owning your desires. That is something to really hone in on for you so that you can really let this part of you shine and lead with that wanting, that desire part. If you have a number 5, yours is probability. So you naturally read trajectory. Like, where is this actually headed based on what's already in motion and not what anyone hopes is going to happen. So you can see, like, I can see where this is going. So really trust your read on timing. This view, if you have this view, it's really good at knowing when something's ready versus when it's being forced. So listen to your intuition on this and know and trust when something is ready. Now, you can get off track on this by getting anxious trying to control the outcome instead of trusting the pattern that is already there. So not controlling it, but seeing the probability and trusting, like, I can see that this is going to work, and just trusting that and not trying to control it. So think of like knowing when to pivot versus to persist, like keep going, forecasting things like your launch timing. If you're launching a product or a service or something, this view, like you just know. Like you just know the timing of things. And so just trust that. And then the last one is 6. 6 is personal. This is mine. So I can speak to this one from experience. This is when you have this as your view, everything gets filtered through. How does this land for me? How does this work for me specifically? So conditioning might tell you that this is selfish, like, oh, it's all about me. But really, this is just the honest individual lens that your mind was built with. How does this work for me? How does this benefit me? How does this land for me? And that's what you filter everything through. So you know you're on track with this when you make decisions from what's true for you, not what worked for somebody else, not what worked for somebody you're comparing yourself to, because that's when you get off track with this one, when you lose yourself in comparison. And when we're talking about what I'm talking about in this episode of kind of getting out of that masculine male driven productivity, this one can get really sticky because you can see people doing things in that more masculine way of doing it. And you're like, oh, well, it works for them and they're making this amount of money, or their business is this far ahead, or whatever. You can get sucked into, which everybody can, even if you don't have this as your view. But if this is your view, you can really get sucked down into that, scrolling your competitors, benchmarking against somebody else's path, outsourcing the read to everyone else but you. Like, you lose yourself in that comparison rather than making decisions on what's true for you, really listening to your intuition and not asking yourself, what is everybody else doing? And asking yourself, what is actually true for me? So that is the variable, and that is the view, the perspective, which I think is really, really helpful for what we're talking about here, because this also gives you a deeper lens into how you're focusing your time and your energy and where you might be off track. So I challenge you, after learning those pieces of yourself, asking yourself, what is my type and strategy? Where am I weak? Am I overriding it on a regular basis? Asking yourself, this is a weekly question to ask yourself. What season of my cycle am I in right now? Does my calendar reflect that? Does my to-do list reflect that? It's a really good time to kind of do that self-audit, personal inventory of this. And so to wrap up this episode, I want you to see that we're not completely abandoning structure here. I'm not saying just listen to your intuition and let things flow. Yes, do that. But structure is important too. But we want to build a structure with the pulse, a structure that's flexible, a structure that allows you to move and flow within it. It's a flexible structure. And so just having this simple planning of mapping out your cycle, understanding, knowing your cycle. I mean, that's first and foremost. I didn't even say that, but learn how to track your cycle and know where you are in your cycle. And then understanding these pieces of your human design, especially looking at strategy, authority, maybe diving into a little bit of the variable. When you're planning things out, if you have a business, when you're planning launches or batching content or sales, when you're in your career and you knowing how to structure your to-do list, knowing what your daily energy expenditures or your weekly energy expenditure is going to look like. And while you might see like, oh, well, this means I'm going to be working less, or this means it's going to be slower, it's the same output, but it's concentrated into the windows where it actually costs the body less to produce. This is that whole work smarter, not harder thing. This is it playing out in real time. You are concentrating your output where it's going to be the most valuable, where it's going to cost your body less. And so you are able to use those times when maybe you are quote unquote doing less, and it's building into those times, those phases, those cycles where now I'm doing the doing, and your doing is like, it's amplified. It's like so much more potent. That's what we're doing here. And that's what becomes possible when you stop fighting your own design, you stop fighting your own cycles. Because honestly, the cost of the mismatch here, the real cost is, yes, you're tired and you're exhausted, but you lose your spark, but also you lose your spark. It is this a complete disconnection, a disembodiment from your own spark inside of you, this spark that is wanting to come out through your work, your service, your mission, whatever it is you're here to do on this earth. You are disconnecting yourself from that because your body is just operating in survival mode. Your physical body can't keep up with what you're telling it to do because it's out of alignment. And so this isn't becoming less ambitious or becoming less tenacious or it's not about that. It's not about doing less. This is about what makes your ambition, your tenacity, your drive, your purpose sustainable enough for you to actually finish the vision instead of burning out 1, 2, 3 years into it. This is what makes it sustainable. This is what makes it where you can actually enjoy the building of this thing, to enjoy this mission you're here to create while also enjoying your life. Because that's the other thing. A lot of people can build really successful missions. They can build really successful purposes and really successful businesses, but not everybody gets to enjoy the journey there. They don't get to enjoy their life while they're doing it. It's like all compartmentalized. When you are doing things in this way, you are doing things in an aligned way, the way you were designed to, the way that feels good in your body, you get to enjoy all the parts of it. The building part, the resting part, the life part, the part that has nothing to do with the thing that you're building, right? Your family, your relationships, your body, being in your body, you get to enjoy that part. That's what all this is about. So, in understanding your type and your strategy and your authority, all of this is step one, actually living with it, plus tying in the things about your cycle, right? This is the ongoing work. And so, if you want to dive into this work with a little bit more support, the calling is what I'm calling you into. The calling is a membership exactly for that. This is a monthly practice. This isn't like, oh, I'm listening to a podcast episode, I'm going to take the action, but where you get deep practice with your chart, with your body as the operating instructions, where you get support from me, where you get to dive in deeper to more of these advanced things we talked about today, right? I gave you a little taste of one today, but there's just so many more ways to go into this. And it's not just about understanding these pieces and learning these pieces, but it's how to live it out, how to embody it, how it looks day in, day out, to use your energy from this way. So the calling is exactly the place for that. This is when we can start to build your actual rhythm together. You get support. So it's not just you kind of following instructions and following directions and following what I'm telling you here, but you actually getting support as you build this. So I will put the link to the show notes. I'll also put the link to the other cycle syncing episodes if you want to go back and listen to that, because I just go into more detail. So if you want to listen to that and get more insight there, I will put that in the show notes. But I hope this serves you. I can't wait to hear just how things start to shift for you when you really let go of this masculine ways of operating and doing and productivity. Send me a message or an email. Let me know how it goes, and I'll see you next time.